All right. Last part of the chapter, learn how to perform a hair and scalp analysis. And after reading this section, you'll be able to identify factors to be observed and considered during a hair and scalp analysis. These are two things that are understated, but very, very, very important. And honestly, this is something that I like to do before I even start on a client. When somebody walks in the door, I'm trying to notice things. When somebody is walking around the shop, or if they come to speak to me or anything like that, I'm already starting this type of process. Also, this is something that if you do it enough and you have repeat clients, you're at a point where if you see something different or you notice something different about your client's head, that you can make them, you can alert them to the changes that you see immediately, and it may be something that could save them a lot of trouble, a lot of strife, and a lot of money, honestly. So we're going to talk about this, and after talking about it, I just want to put a little bit of my personal experience on top of it. All right. Okay. Barbering services include a variety of applications that benefit from a barber's ability to analyze the condition of a client's scalp and hair. In addition to wave and growth patterns, barbers should be able to analyze the hair's texture, density, porosity, and elasticity. Knowledge and skill in performing a hair analysis can be acquired by observation, and practice uses the senses of sight, hearing, smell, and touch. Uh, what else I was going to add to that? I don't know. It'll probably hit me later. All right. Let's start with sight. Observation will impart some knowledge immediately, such as whether the hair looks dry or oily. Sight alone, however, will not provide an accurate judgment of the hair's quality. While that is true, the thing about sight is just somebody may not know that you're doing what you're doing, so it won't put them off, so to speak, right? Hearing. Some clients will volunteer information about their hair, health problems, or experiences with products and medications. Since all of these factors are important when deciding how to treat the hair, it is advisable to listen carefully. That's absolutely correct. Listening carefully also involves some of the stuff that they won't tell you. Okay, you may have to talk to your client a little more to get some of this type of information. I know a large percentage of my clients don't want to talk about some of the other stuff because it may have some type of underlying condition that may be embarrassing to them. So it may be, just to add to that, it may be something that you might have to do when nobody's around, or you do in a private setting, or you do in a setting to where nobody else can hear the conversation that you're having with your client. Okay, that's just as important. Smell. Certain scalp disorders will create an odor. If the client is in general good health and the scalp is clean, the hair should be odor free. Uh, I agree with that. And I will just say you have a bunch of people, you got a bunch of smokers. So listen, that odor can be smelled and identified from anywhere, a mile away, before they even sit in your chair. But even with the shampoo, some of that smell comes out when you're hitting them with that water, and you're hitting them with that shampoo and those chemicals and all that stuff. Even some of the stuff at the bowl, okay, when you shampoo and hair. Touch. The sense of touch is key to analyzing hair condition and texture. This sense needs to be developed to its fullest capacity for the barber to provide truly professional services. I couldn't agree more. Next, we're going to talk about performing a scalp analysis. Always begin the analysis with checking the scalp first, since any disorders or conditions found there could prohibit a service from being performed. When analyzing the scalp, comb through the hair gently while parting it to check for hypertrophies, abrasions, and parasites. Do not scrape the scalp. I repeat, do not scrape the scalp. Now, that sounds simple enough till you start thinking about, okay, how many people will scrape using a comb? Most people will scrape the scalp using a comb and not even know it. That's why I say, okay, if you're gonna comb it, any of y'all that's been a part or seen any of my blade angle to surface videos know what I mean when I say comb it at an angle, comb it at an acute angle. Definitely don't rake it at a 90-degree angle, which I see people do all the time. That doesn't help anything. Um, is not the most effective in getting the hair to go in its typical direction of the hair stream. And all you're doing is raking the scalp, as I like to call it. Okay. Let's see. When analyzing the scalp, comb through the hair gently while parting it to check for hypertrophy. I said all that. Okay. Do not scrape the scalp. Say that. Do not begin any service if parasites are present, of course. Do not proceed with chemical services if there are signs of irritation or abrasions. Let's talk about that real quick. Listen, you will have some very pushy, very bossy, very I want this, I want that, I want the third type of clients. It is your job to refuse them. If you see any of this and they're talking about they want color in their hair and they have abrasions, if they have irritation, you tell them, I cannot do this. I don't care who it is. Okay. I don't care if it's your grandpa that you love them to death. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your cousin. I don't care if they mama brought them in, brought their kids in, and the mama is insisting that you do something and they try. No, no, not just with chemical services. Anything that's going to bother that irritation further or anything that's going to affect those abrasions further, you tell them no. N-O, period. Next, hypertrophy such as moles or warts require extreme care when combing through the hair to avoid catching the comb on these abnormal skin growths. If you see changes in the hypertrophy from one client, visit to another. Suggest that your client see a physician. Barbers play a significant role in the early detection of many skin cancers. So, any unusual looking pigmentation or growth on the scalp should be referred to a physician, period. All right. Even if you got to take pictures to prove your point. That's why, again, I talk a lot about taking pictures in the beginning, taking pictures when somebody first sits in your chair, the first time you notice something. All this stuff is going on during the client consultation when they first sit down, before you drape them, before you do anything. Like, this is certain things that I like to do just so I can go ahead and have the pictures ready and say, hey, look, this is what I see from my perspective. Now, this is probably something you need to see a physician about. And before I perform any service, I would feel more comfortable if you went to see a physician first. Okay. It don't happen often. I'm just saying be prepared when it does happen, just so there's there's no problems on your part and somebody's not trying to sue you. Okay. Next, let's perform a hair analysis. Observe and consider hair texture, density, porosity, and elasticity when performing a hair analysis. Hair texture refers to the degree of coarseness or fineness of individual hair strands, which may vary on different parts of the head. Hair texture is measured by the diameter of the hair strand and is classified as coarse, medium, or fine. Coarse hair has the largest diameter and tends to be stronger than fine hair. It also has a stronger structure, which may require more processing or stronger products during chemical services than medium or fine hair. Generally, it is more difficult for hair lighteners, hair colors, wave-in solutions, and relaxing creams to penetrate coarse hair. Medium hair texture is the most common and is the standard to which other hair is compared. Medium hair is the hair texture that is considered normal and does not usually pose any special problems or concerns during a haircut. Fine hair has the smallest diameter and is generally more fragile, easier to process, and more susceptible to damage from chemical services than coarse or medium hair. Some fine or very fine hair does not possess a medulla, which helps to account for the smaller diameter of the strand. Wiry hair, whether coarse, fine, medium, has a hard, glassy finish because the cuticle scales lie flat against the hair shaft. It usually takes longer to give this type of hair a chemical service. Next, we're going to discuss testing for hair texture. Hair texture can be determined by feeling a single strand of dry hair between the fingers. Hold the strand securely with one hand while rolling it between the thumb and forefinger of the other hand. With practice, you will be able to feel the difference between coarse, medium, and fine hair textures. Next, hair density. Hair density refers to the number of individual hair strands per square inch of scalp area and is classified as thick, average, or thin, or as high, medium, or low density. Hair density is different from hair texture in that individuals with the same hair texture can have different densities or different amounts of hair per square inch. For example, one person may have thick, fine hair while another has thin, fine hair. I've seen that on the test before. The average hair density is approximately 2,200 strands per square inch, with the average head containing about 100,000 individual strands. The number of hairs on the head varies with the color of the hair. Blondes usually have the highest density, and redheads the least density per square inch. Next, hair porosity. Hair porosity is the ability of the hair to absorb moisture. The degree of porosity is directly related to the condition of the cuticle layer of the hair. A compact cuticle layer is naturally more resistant to penetration, whereas porous hair has a raised cuticle layer that easily absorbs water. The porosity level of hair can be classified as low porosity, average porosity, and high porosity, or as resistant, normal, and overly porous. Hair that has moderate or average porosity is considered normal. This hair type presents no special problems, and chemical applications usually process the way they are expected. Hair that is classified as having low porosity is considered resistant. This hair type absorbs the least amount of moisture and may require a more alkaline solution than other hair types. Hair with a high porosity level is considered overly porous, is usually the result of previous overprocessing. Hair in this condition is dry, damaged, fragile, and brittle. Although overly porous hair may absorb liquid quickly, the damage in open cuticle scales may make it difficult for the hair to retain hair coloring pigments or to react favorably to chemical texture services. Reconditioning treatments, the use of low pH products, and strand tests are recommended prior to performing chemical services on hair in this condition. Testing for hair porosity. The porosity of the hair can be checked by holding multiple strands of dry hair between the fingers while sliding the thumb and forefinger of the other hand down toward the scalp. If the hair feels smooth and the cuticle is compact, it is considered resistant. If you can feel a slight roughness or the imbrications of the cuticle scales, the hair is porous. Should the hair break or feel very rough, the hair is probably over porous. So pretty much just from a gesture, it looks like this. You hold the hair like this and you just come down like that, just to test it, okay? Hair elasticity is the ability of the hair to stretch and return to its original length without breaking, and is an indication of the strength of the side bonds in the hair. One more time. Hair elasticity is the ability of the hair not only to stretch, but also return to its original length without breaking, and is an indication of the strength of the side bonds in the hair. Hair with normal elasticity tends to hold the curl from sets and permanent waves without excessive relaxing of the curl. Hair with low or poor elasticity is brittle and breaks easily. Hair in this condition may have been overprocessed during previous chemical applications or may be the result of poor nutrition or internal disorders. Now we're going to, last but not least, we're going to talk about testing for hair elasticity. That will complete this chapter. Gently tug a few strands of clean, wet hair. Hair with normal elasticity will stretch and return to its original length without breaking. Curly or wavy hair may stretch up to 50% of its original length and return to that length without breaking. And hair that breaks easily or fails to return to its normal length has low elasticity. All right, that completes chapter 10, properties and disorders of the hair and scalp. The next part within this section and chapter will be the chapter review test. So just look for that in the next section.